Hello. I've had a few videos in mind recently where I'm talking to the camera like this. I don't do it often. But every now and then there's something where it's like, oh, this is a subject interesting enough that I think I could talk about it for a while. And I've been dying to do a few of them lately. Time hasn't really permitted, but I wanted to do one on revisiting the BioShock series for no reason. I saw all the Fast and Furious movies in a row, and I'd never seen any of them. All these dumb subjects, but I kept circling around to thinking about this console generation, because obviously with the new consoles coming and all that, it's been on my mind a lot. And I tried to do those other videos first, but this just kept popping into my brain. And so I guess I just wanted to get it out there. I don't really have a point to this video. I'm just kind of thinking about, I was reminiscing about the past console cycle, the PS4, the Xbox One, all that stuff. And I primarily played the PS4 and the Switch, but I don't know where is that this generation? I don't know where. Remember Wii U came out and they said this is the next generation and then the PS4 came. Where's the Switch fall? Where does the Switch? Is that this gen, next gen, last gen? I don't know what it is. So I'll probably bring it up, but that's not really the primary focus. It's more the PS4 or the Xbox One. I've never been a PC dude. I'm just playing the consoles, whatever. But I was looking back really fondly, with the PS5 coming, which was my primary console. I was thinking back like, PS4 turned out pretty damn good. I really have to say, I remember when it was about to come out, and I'm sure you're going to see, if you haven't already, maybe my head's been in the sand, but between generations, I feel like you always see those news stories that are like, is this the end of consoles? Or is this going to be the last console? Is this are console video games dead? Are they? I feel like we always see that when we start to transition into another life cycle, and you see a lot of then the new console comes out and it's like, how come there's not that many games? Is this an unsustainable thing? Is that not, and then they sell 1 billion of them and it's as big and as great as ever. I feel like that's happened before, and you're probably going to hear people talk about it again. But I remember, when PS4 was coming out, it was like, can this marketplace sustain? Are we going to get anything really good on these systems? Is this it for consoles? And ended up being great. Ended up being a lot of good games. And, thinking back, I'm like, damn, I played a lot of cool stuff over the course of the last however many years, 7 years since PS4 came out. And so my immediate gut reaction was, yeah, it kicked ass. I played a ton of great stuff. But it's funny when someone asks me like, where are the best I play single player experiences mostly. I don't really play a lot of multiplayer. But when people ask me, who's got the best exclusives? Who's got the best exclusives, whether it be single player or otherwise, but who's got the best exclusives? I mean, I don't even think about it. My go-to is Sony. My go-to is PlayStation, because they serve what I'm looking for, which are these, they really cater to the single player story, the single player cinematic experience. Again, another thing that people were saying, is this dead? Is this going to go away? Is this gone? No, it thrived in this generation. And so my gut instinct is that. Of course, Nintendo's got a lot of great stuff too. But again, I'm primarily talking about the PS4. The Xbox this last generation didn't really have a lot in the way of first party big exclusives like that. They had their own perks, but for my interests, Sony catered to that again and again and again. And they made it clear every time they did a presentation, every time they came out and talked at E3 or PSX, it was all about story. It was all about, we're ready to move you with this story. You know, that's one thing I always really admired about their presentation. Xbox would kind of bring up a lot of specs and a lot of, things that might appeal to the esports crowd, or again, I'm not even trying to diss Xbox. And they did some pretty incredible stuff with Game Pass and all that stuff, but it was Sony that was always making it about, we get ready for us to move you. You know what I mean? Like that kind of gooey thing, that kind of emotional connection. We're ready to pull your heartstrings. Look what we've got, So my gut response is Sony killed it with their first party games. They absolutely killed it. But then I started to think back, and this is where I'm curious if people will identify with these thoughts or if I'm just going to lose everyone. I'm honestly really curious, and I invite your feedback. But when I started to actually think about the PlayStation exclusives, I was very, very impressed on a technical level, and extremely impressed by what they were able to pull off artistically. You play through The Last of Us 2, you play through Uncharted, you play through Horizon or all kinds of these games, God of War, and the detail and the presentation is second to none. The artists that worked on it, on all of those and more, should be commended and given a raise beyond the stratosphere. They just pulled out all the stops, and they're some of the most engrossing games from a visual standpoint, from a environmental standpoint, whatever you want to say. These consoles just or these exclusives on this console spared no expense in that department. But I found myself thinking about all of those games and all the big exclusives, and I kind of, when I thought about them even further, I don't know if they affected me in the way that I kind of thought they did. The front of my brain is going, yeah, wow, weren't those impressive? But the deeper parts of my brain, I'm assuming this is how the brain works. The scientists in the comments will have to tell me. I don't know if they had quite the lasting effect on me that the previous generation of exclusives did. And I don't know if that's me or them. And that's why I guess I'm kind of putting this out there. I don't know if that's me losing touch, or maybe interest shift, people change. Or if the goals of these games from the top has changed. I'll explain. I have felt now, there was God of War. God of War won like every Game of the Year award when it came out. But I was really left cold by it. And this is no mark against, I think Cory Barlog is an awesome director. I think he has done great stuff. He did a great job. And God of War 2, I loved. When they announced it, oh my God. Because I felt like after God of War 3, what else can we do? I feel like my cup is run with this series. We've done enough, right? How, this hyper-violent quest to just tear it all down. 3, my God, had some of the most impressive sequences, and they wrapped it all up and whatever. So I'm like, I think I'm done with this. Man, when they debuted God of War 4, I was blown away. Like, wow. They completely circumvented my expectation. Kratos is like a scarred father, and he's got an emotional connection to his son, and he's trying to put the past behind him and he's trying to evolve as a person. And oh man, like when they debuted that, I was just like, this is genius. This is for my, I'm sappy. I'm emotional. I'm gooey with that kind of stuff. So when they announced that, I was just like, oh my God, you got me. You got me. But playing the game, it was a good game. Do not get me wrong. I'm not dissing it here. No diss to be had from here, but I don't think I got the sustenance I was ever looking for any more than that initial reveal, The game was as advertised, a father and his son and their kind of emotional ties, trying to get through it together. But I just felt like it was kind of on a plateau. It never really had these kind of peaks and valleys, And I'm going to kind of spoil these games maybe a little bit. Hopefully you played them. I'll give you some warning before I do, I guess. But if you haven't played these games, you might want to skip what I'm saying about them. God of War had a very cool kind of twisty moment. He goes back and gets his weapons, and that was really cool. But on an emotional level, I feel like what I got from that game was no more than what I got from the trailers. I didn't feel any further risk than the initial carpet pull from under, my expectations. They set out to do something in that game. They do it. They set up for the sequel. It was, again, solid game. But, I don't know if I had much to talk about when it was over. And then I think about Last of Us 2. That's still on my mind. And what an experience it was. This is another game where I felt like I'd been through some shit when I built that game, when I beat that game. I shouldn't say, I don't know why I said I built that game. I don't have anything to do with it. But I can't name another game that dragged me through the shit like that game did. And once again, all praise to the artists, the writer, director, all that stuff. It's funny. I made a tweet about it a while back about how, when games take risks, people just bail. And I said something like, Last of Us 2, it takes bold story risks and people throw fits about it, or I don't remember exactly what it was. And I'm like still getting heat on that. All the time I'm getting messages about that tweet. People still found, because it got retweeted a billion times, and I get messages about it. Like I'm white knighting that game or trying to find ways to defend it. When in all honesty, I've been very critical of it, and only more critical since it's come out. And I played it a second time, and I had fun. It's a fun game. I really do maintain that. It's an experience. But when I think about it, there are like 3 really big plot beats. And that's all I can kind of put together with that game. Out of a 30-hour game, I can only really name 3 major provocative kind of big moments. And I feel like those 3 moments or so, however many, are kind of the only catalyst for all the hours of gameplay in between. It's not like breadcrumbed in any particular way. To me, it's kind of like they opened that game. We circumvented your expectations. What? Look what just happened. Again, I'm going to spoil it. Just so you guys know. You thought Joel was in this game? He's dead. And just that. There's like 15 hours of gameplay built off just that. And then you get an awesome story beat at the end of that, which catapults you into the second half. But then it's just that until you get to an ending, which I liked the ending, but I just wonder if there's enough there to justify this giant 30-hour game. I don't know. I kind of felt like there's enough here for a 10-hour game, you know. But I don't really like to get into runtime, you know. That's never really determined a game for me. It just seemed like there was really great character development in that game, but I just felt like we got a few good hunks of it and not much else in this giant expansive thing. I don't know if that makes any sense or if I'm making any sense, but I think they banked a lot on it. It was enough that like Joel was killed, so you're ready to like march forward. And I don't know. I felt I was just kind of there for 15 hours and going, is this it? Is this what we're doing? That's okay. Again, I still like the game overall. Thought it was good, but I didn't feel like I was discussing it in the same way that I was the first one. And there are things they did better in the second one for sure. You know, the first one was definitely a lot more succinct, but it kind of developed things in a way that when it ended, you just kind of want to keep talking about the fate of these characters. What do you think is going to happen next? Do you think that she knows? Do you think that it's over? Or do you think, you know, there was a constant stream of, you could kind of keep writing stories in your head. And I don't know, after Last of Us 2, I'm kind of like, that was a great character piece on these couple characters. Excellently done. But I don't know if I have much else to really discuss about it. I don't know if I got that nourishment from it. I don't know. I think about Uncharted 4. Again, that was very impressive, a lot of fun. You know, maybe I'm alone on this, but I was really impressed by 3. Again, by the time I was playing through Uncharted 3 on PS3, I was thinking, how many more of these games can they do? You know, how many more are we in? Can they, you know, like before it gets stale? And what I thought was so brilliant about Uncharted 3 was that it kind of presented those questions to you back. It kind of started to ask what it meant to be a game like this. You know, there was a little bit of a interesting meta commentary to it. There was a little bit of, you know, look at yourself. Like, look at all that you've done in the name of getting treasure. Look at what you're doing in terms of the violence and the, you know, everything else. And, I don't know. It was a fun game, but it asked questions too. And I thought that was really interesting. And 4 was a very impressive game, and I thought like the plot MacGuffin was maybe the best one of all of them, but you know, like the pirate stuff, that was cool. But I can't help but feel like the story was a little milquetoast compared to kind of the deeper questions 3 was asking. You know, 4 just kind of tackled, you know, marriage. You know, like, all right. Marriage and, you know, getting, I guess, kind of obsessed with your pursuits. But I don't know. It was more about like balancing your interests versus family life or whatever. You know, it was good. None of that was done badly. You know, I was kind of rubbed the wrong way that the biggest physical threat in the game, she kind of just runs away and you fight a dude with a sword. You know, it looked really cool. But again, I'm just kind of left, I don't know, like, yeah, good. You did good. But I didn't really, again, I don't know if I'm being I don't know if I'm really getting the nutrition, the creative nutrition from these that I had hoped. You know, I feel like I talked with friends about Last of Us forever. And again, is that me being younger and we were all into that, or is that just I don't know. You know, I'll bring up the example. It's not a first party exclusive necessarily, but Final Fantasy VII Remake did give you stuff to talk about. Wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. And I think that is in part because I've just run out of patience for the kind of like Kingdom Hearts stuff. But that's not to say everyone feels that way. You know, that is a product of me getting older and I'm like, I can't like endure this again. You know, that kind of thing. So that's a product of time. Not necessarily them. You know, but I think back to like Final Fantasy 15, and that was another one. I kind of think back to all these games that I was like, I can barely sleep. I'm so excited to play, and that was another one I kind of was just left cold by, and that was more of I think a lack of direction or too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing. I don't really know. I felt like maybe it was like they wanted me to get DLC or something. You know, that was a more muddled situation, but I don't know. A lot of these exclusives that I think of when I think of how impressive the PS4 was, I kind of just sit there thinking like, what were they? I don't know. You know, I didn't completely beat Horizon Zero Dawn. I thought the world they created was really cool. I don't know if I was that sucked into its story. You know, from what I played. I guess what am I trying to say here? I guess what I'm wondering with a lot of these is I have this impression that in the last however many years, and you tell me if I'm wrong. You tell me if I'm wrong about this. This is kind of what I'm wondering. I feel like there's been more of an obsession with circumventing expectations versus actually having a genuinely deep, interesting story. Does that make sense? I feel like the first big, well, not the first, but I feel like you saw it happen, not in video games, but, you know, when The Last Jedi came out. I mean, you know how that went. Not going to get into that, but, you know, there was, they circumvented your expectation of what it was going to be. And I'm not saying I didn't like that, but that did it. And then you had kind of a lot of stuff came out in a row where it was like, that's not what you expect. You know, God of War is a total, we circumvented everything that you expected this character to do or to be. We did it. But then that's kind of what it relies on. That's kind of it at its core. And that's it. You know, The Last of Us 2. Oh, we removed 50% of the series lead. You know. And again, I'm not against that. I love a story risk. I love that. I like risks in story. But again, I just kind of feel like that was it. It leaned on that for most of it. You know, I guess I bring it back to Final Fantasy VII Remake. You know, I told you what was or wasn't my cup of tea there, but again, it felt like it was kind of, to me, leaning on like, oh, you came here for this thing? Oh, well, nah, Nah, nope. To an almost convoluted level. You know, which was a disconnect for me. It's not going to be for everybody, but I felt like it didn't really do it organically. It felt like it was actually really trying to jam it in your face over and over again, which was my disconnect from it. That's just me. You know, I don't know. With Uncharted, you could almost point to the opposite. You know, the expectation is Nathan will die, and it's actually like, no, he's actually gonna get his wife involved, and they're gonna strengthen their relationship over. You know, it's like, oh, okay. Circumventing an expectation is not bad. I you know, obviously that makes the story interesting, but I don't know. I feel like some of these games, they kind of made that their only thing. And I know I'm not going to, I mean, I know BioShock Infinite. I'm going to do a whole video about the BioShock series. I've had opinions turn around complete 180 on a lot of the stuff in that series, but you know, I finally played the collection. I just thought it'd be a fun thing to talk about in a separate video, and I'll do that. I know BioShock Infinite did not by any means win everyone over necessarily, and now that I've played it again, there's things I love and hate about it. But I did enjoy the amount of stuff to talk about that there was out of it, good or bad. You know, you could say that for any of the BioShocks, really. You know, you talked about it in the same way you did after completing a really awesome TV show. You know, there was like stuff to talk about like that. I don't know how many experiences I had like that in this generation. I played some really deluxe, cool games, but I don't know how many experiences like that I had, if that makes sense. It's not the same thing, but the closest I can think of is playing Breath of the Wild on the Switch. Not the story was not up to that level by any means. But I liked the conversation that came out of like, you know, here's this thing I think I invented how to do. Here's, you know, you were struggling with conquering this or going here. I think I figured it out. You know, it's like, I did enjoy the conversations of like, here's what I discovered. Here's what, I was going to bed last night and I had an idea. Let's try it. Oh, it worked. You know, like having an adventure game like that where you kind of had to invent solutions to it was really cool. And I'll even take it a step further in a weird way. I kind of got those vibes from Animal Crossing this year too. I felt like I was discussing stuff with people and discovering things, and you know, I don't know, that was really cool. These single player story games that were on PS4 this year were really, really impressive in a lot of ways, but I just felt like there wasn't much to talk about. You know, I don't know if there really was. With Last of Us 2, I felt like the whole conversation behind that was really just, was it right or wrong that they did it? You know, it was mostly that. It wasn't, I didn't really learn more about that world or again, there were some interesting character things, but just kind of a few. I don't know. Very well done, but I didn't think there was it wasn't quite a full feast, I think. Really the game that didn't try maybe one of my favorite games, maybe my favorite unexpectedly from this last generation that didn't try to that it actually had emotional pieces and pulled at your heartstrings, but also like just chose a path and unabashedly made it as fun and enjoyable as possible, and gave you great story beats and gave you all these I don't know, all the emotional sustenance you could want from a video game, was Spider-Man. Spider-Man somehow wasn't trying to trick anyone or pull a fast one. It had surprises for sure, but it just wanted to give you the purest experience, and everything good and bad with being that character. And, and again, I don't know if I had that much to talk about with that game, but I definitely didn't feel, empty when that was over. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, they surprised me with how far they were willing to go emotionally and stuff like that. I was very impressed by that. I really dug that. The other first party PS4 game that I really loved, and I get crap for this too, was The Last Guardian. And I think that is more the result of, like, it's not fair to almost compare it to those other ones, because to me, why I loved it was, in my mind, we were never going to get this game. It wasn't going to exist. It must be, this cannot be a real game. It's got to be broken. It's got to be whatever. In the face of all that, I had an incredible experience with it. I'm not going to say it was perfect, but I really connected to it. I thought it was a beautiful game. And it wanted to just tell you their story. It didn't try to, I don't know, it didn't just rely on one thing. It took you through a whole, the games by that developer have a really unique world, and it showed you a different side to them, and I really enjoyed that. But again, that was in the face of, that was almost a reaction to this game being infamously non-existent, so whatever. But I enjoyed it still. Well, I remember, I've never been the biggest Rockstar guy. But I did play Red Dead Redemption 2 and thought it was phenomenal. But one of my favorite games of this generation by far. But even that, when I had finished it, I had felt like, well, the book's closed on this style of game. Like, this represents how open this game is, the best that open world games. This represents the best they could have been in their previous incarnation. Does that make sense? To me, Breath of the Wild represented the next generation of them with the way that it's, the chemistry engine worked, and it was a little more, not to say it was the perfect game or that there isn't room to do more with it, but to me, it represented the first step towards a different type of open world, where you are more in control of how things happen, and you're kind of at the head of your story. Red Dead Redemption 2 kind of represented the old guard to me, but it was the best you could do with that. But when that was over, did I have that much to say about it? Was I left thinking about it? It was a good story, and the characters are, they were amazing. So I had an incredible time playing it. Again, this is no disrespect. But I don't know if there was that much to, I don't know if there was kind of a deeper thing to want to explore, after that. I don't know. Resident Evil 7 was one that came out of nowhere and was really impressive, and didn't try to be anything or try to, I guess it did circumvent your expectations with what it could be, but it wasn't even trying to me, it was just on its own. We're on our own path. Nothing else matters. We're on this path. You're with us or you're not, and I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know. Like I said at the beginning, I don't really have a point with this video. I'm not really trying to make a point. I'm just thinking back, and I'm wondering if I got what I wanted out of this generation or not. That being said, I had fun with all of the games that I've mentioned. And they were impressive in one way or another. So I'm not complaining. I got my money's worth with PS4. But I guess, in a generation where we heralded the return of, or the embracement of, the single player deluxe story experience, did we get all that we wanted? I guess when I made that tweet that I mentioned earlier, and I said that people, when games take risks, people bail, I think one of the things I mentioned in the tweet was when game reviewers can't compare Death Stranding to another game, people cancel their pre-orders. And I saw that a lot too. And I guess maybe that was the point I was getting at. Death Stranding is a game that beat to the tune of its own drum 100%. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the big console exclusive, PS4 exclusive, whatever, that had lots of depth to its story, had lots of meta commentary, lots of stuff to decipher, stuff to peel back and try to understand, and in all the ways that I mentioned that I love. That game had that. But I know a lot of people that weren't willing to dig. Not saying that Death Stranding is the de facto experience that everyone needs to embrace it, or you've, or you're mentally lost or something. I'm not even really trying to pigeonhole it like that. I just think maybe things are the way they are for a reason. I don't know. Well, let me know what you think. But yeah, looking back to this generation, again, I played a lot of great stuff. The Phantom Pain, I had a great time. I had a great time with all this stuff. Persona 5 was an RPG that I know people gushed over, and I didn't even get around to that. I didn't play that, and I didn't play Witcher. Those are two games that I know people truly are just over the moon for. So I didn't really get to play those. Bloodborne I played some of, but I'm not good at stuff like that. But that was really awesome, So maybe there's enough that I didn't play that to others, maybe it tips it into it tips it into a safer territory where they feel like, yo, this generation ruled, and I don't even I don't even think there's a reason to hesitate on that thought. Maybe I played a lot of stuff that I really liked. And it wasn't even a game, but PT was one of my favorite experiences, favorite gaming experiences, and I don't know how many years. Me and a bunch of friends. I mean, I think we streamed it. You could go watch it, but playing that in my living room and just trying to figure out what to do next, and it was that was something truly that only came out of this last generation. And the fact that it was super easy to stream from my living room. I just turn the PS4 on and hit two buttons, and I'm streaming live to ton of people and stuff. That was really, really cool. And they made it easier than ever to share moments with other people and connect with other people on online. And there's a lot of great stuff that came out of this generation. I think the and the fact that single player story games and all that kind of stuff were able to thrive however they thrived is a good sign. Like I think the environment for the kind of stuff that I like to see was good. In terms of those games did come out, and it was easier than ever to stream and be social and all that stuff. The atmosphere of playing these games for me was better. I don't know how the atmosphere is for making and releasing games. That's on the business side, but on my end, it was better than ever. But I guess that's all I'm asking is, did we get the sustenance? Did we get the sustenance from these games on a story level? On, it's more about the story. From my perspective, some people don't care about that. And to me, story can exist on a few levels. It's not just the written plot. Again, I bring up Breath of the Wild. The plot in that, who really cares? But you kind of, there's a different type of storytelling there. There's like storytelling through adventure and through discovery and through, you kind of craft that yourself. So I like that. And again, there was a little bit of that with Animal Crossing too, which I thought was kind of neat. And what else can I say about Nintendo? I played the Switch more than like any other system. If that counts as this generation, again, I don't want to get into that whole thing, but I played that more than anything. But I will say that catered to what I wanted, which was, a lot of people are like, ugh, ports. But that's how I mean, there's a lot of games I either never got to or wanted to play a game but don't have time at home. I take the Switch everywhere and I'm playing through all these. I played through all the BioShocks in no time. I wouldn't have been able to do that just sitting around at home. I don't have time, but bringing it here and back and forth and wherever, I was able to play all of them and Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and revisiting all these games and getting a second chance at life on them. That speaks to me. Some people aren't feeling the ports. On the Switch, I love them. I don't necessarily want ports all the time on these other devices, but the Switch, I dug it. I really liked it. And, and as for their first party stuff, I think it's been pretty solid. Again, I don't know if like Mario Odyssey was good. I don't know if that like was a new frontier for Mario. I guess I'm left a little like, is that the next, did we hit the next step for Mario? Or was this kind of like really awesome bubblegum and then it's done, I definitely felt like Zelda evolved, and that was day one of the Switch. I definitely felt that. Animal Crossing really, it came at a very good time this year. So I don't know if my affection for, I never liked that series before. But it's kind of, incredible the experiences that I had with it, this year and everything about it. Yeah. But, aside from that though, I don't know, most of what I played, they were ports. So it's hard for me to be objective. I love the Switch, but a lot of what I played was ports. So it's hard for me to kind of discern whether or not the system was a success. It's by whose metric, I guess. But for me, it was. I've played it more than like any other system. So yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what everyone else thinks about that stuff. If anybody else thinks that I'm insane with this or if any of these thoughts are valid or totally not. Again, I'm only speaking to my interests. My bias is me. I'm into what I'm into. So, if you think I'm an idiot, I totally understand that. I'm always going to be biased towards things that I like. I know that sounds insane, but, yeah, I'm curious what everyone else thinks. What did you think of this last generation? Again, I feel like I played more fun games than ever. There's stuff I haven't even brought up. Devil May Cry 5. I didn't even expect that game to be half as good as it was. Game was a blast. I could go on and on and on. I feel like I played more fun stuff than ever. But I wonder if I got the real deep nourishment from the big games that I was looking forward to. I wonder if I got that. I'm thinking about that. I'm wondering if I did. So tell me what you think. Let me know what you thought of this last generation. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. But yeah. At some point, I'll get around to these other videos I was going to do. I do want to do, because no one else is even talking or thinking about BioShock. right now. I want to do a video where I talk about those, and I got to do one where I talk about that I watched all the Fast and Furious movies, because I don't know why I did that. I have no clue why I did that. Doesn't matter. It's content. Okay, let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.